Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Big Jiu-Jitsu Show. I'm Rob, and we don't have Randy with us today. He is currently doing cool stuff with defensive tactics somewhere else. But I do have a special guest with me, Cyn Ignacio. She's a brown belt out of Team Rock, North Carolina, in Fayetteville. Cyn, thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate you taking a Sunday to chat with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thank you for not having a video. So, no makeup, no bra. I'm good. So,
so, so like we do upload to YouTube, but it's all audio. So like
oh, thank God.
No. Trust me, I'm not gonna like. I give heads up if we're gonna do video and publish it anywhere. So like, no, it's Sunday. Like I'm legit got my Dark Arts Jiu-Jitsu shirt on and like just gym shorts. I'm not here to impress the crowd at all. But before we get started, I always ask them, why don't you give us your background, martial arts, how you got started in jiu-jitsu, kind of, and kind of what you're doing now with, training or teaching or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for this January will actually be 11 years. And it really started again at Team Rock. I was a mom on the bench, and my kids are now 18, 15, and 11. So mind you, I was on the bench watching my 5-year-old, who is now the 18-year-old.
Wow.
Because they all started at 5 years old. But I was watching him on the mats, and he'd be on the ground. I'm like, get up. And then he turns to me and he's like, Mom, I'm trying, And one day he was just like, when are you going to come on the mats? And I have never done any type of athletic anything. I kind of wanted to dive into wrestling when I was in high school, but I was too ashamed of like wearing the singlet, body, whatever. So I never really did it. But I never did soccer, any of that. So I was just a little apprehensive. I didn't want a bunch of sweaty guys on me,
Yeah.
I was not about that life. I would draw on my eyebrows. So I didn't want my eyebrows wiped off, so for me, it was just not a thing. But one day, one of the moms, she was like, hey, like, do you want to just do it with me? So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I just remember my first role, and I don't know if you guys know who Damon Blackshear is. He's in the UFC right now.
Okay.
But he's a black belt. But he was my first role. He was a blue belt then. And I swear to God, I thought I died on those mats. Like I couldn't breathe. I'm like, I can't do this. But, like here we are 11 years later, and all my kids train. Like I said, they're 18, 15, and 11 now, and they all train. We grew up on the Team Rock mats. And again, I started off as the mom, on the bench. So I've just enjoyed it because I don't feel like I'm working out.
Yeah.
You're over there, you're trying to choke people, break each other's arms, good cardio, but you don't feel like you're working out. And, I think that's the best thing for me.
Well, it's good. I always find the pipeline of, parents who jump off the mat or jump off the sides and jump on like and start training to be interesting. And, I've taught a couple of different martial arts and taught for a while. And I've always found just like the families that do like train together really do enjoy it, get a lot out of it, and just, I guess, stick with it a bit longer and kind of encourage each other as opposed to just having like, a couple good friends. I feel like it's just a little different.
Yes.
With that training.
Yes, for sure. And I feel like sometimes I may like force my kids to do it. There are times when they're like, like, I don't want to. And I'm like, your fingers are working out when you're playing those video games. Like you better get on the mat and, actually physically work out, But like I said, here they are, my 15 and 18-year-old, they wrestle, my 18-year-old graduated now, but, they're in high school wrestling and they absolutely love it. And again, they're active. And yeah, I'm so like blessed that we are doing it as a family,
That's good. I was gonna say, like, I know you're talking about encouraging them, like, hey, you get out, you got to get out there. Did they kind of like help encourage you, kind of stay in it as
Oh
well?
yeah, yeah, for sure. There are definitely days where like I didn't want to do it and they would, for sure push me. Even like working out. The two boys, as you know right now, like they're in this stage where they want to, you know, drink all the protein shakes, eat all the chicken. They're like, "Come on, mom, let's go work out." And so they're definitely my biggest supporters when it comes to staying fit for sure.
That's good. Any impromptu grappling matches in the house?
Who, me? I
Yeah.
need TRICARE first.
Because it'd be like,
No.
so my mom and my two sisters and my brother, we all train martial arts together, and the main rule was no sparring in the kitchen. But like, it just sporadically happened. I don't know if it like happens with you, with like your kids are like, "Come on,
Oh,
mom, they want
yeah.
to try," or
Oh yeah, of course. And it never works out when you're on a carpet, right? So
oh, yeah, good
but
point.
yeah, we're constantly like, "Hey, what about this? Can I try this?" But no, the boys are into MMA right now, so shadow boxing on me is like their number one thing.
Gotcha.
So
And you've kind of gone from just practitioner to like coach, instructor as well, right?
yeah, like that kind of fell I shouldn't say, well, it kind of fell into my lap. Just because like I said, I've been there at Team Rock for 11 years now. And, this is like a military town. So you see people come and go. Me and my family are pretty much a staple here. So I've been, the one female in Team Rock that's been there, I guess, like the longest. And I really wanted like a safe place for, women to train. And I'm like a big, I wouldn't say, we don't have cliques. Like you should see every time a girl comes into Team Rock, oh my God, the girls flock to them because we are just so excited. I think we've got a really, really good, fun group of women that come in and support each other. So yeah, like I started doing the women's class about, I think it's been about 2 years now, and it's really been a blessing. Just being able to teach and talk and like befriend a lot of women on the mats. It's really been rewarding. Um, yeah, I've been doing that self defense courses, and this all really stemmed a lot from, I guess, the assault 5 years ago.
Okay.
And just give me a moment.
Oh, you're fine. Take all the time you need.
but um, but yeah, it's like I wanted to give back to my community. So, having to host the women's class it really gives me a sense of pride, And now I've been like reaching out, doing self-defense classes, and it really has helped heal that part of me, you know. Um, kids self-defense, women's self-defense. Anytime I can reach out and help somebody, like that really honestly makes my day.
Good, good. And like providing that service to people, I think is huge. And it's, sometimes a forgotten part of the martial arts. We get really spun up, not in a bad way, about competition. I know everybody here has heard me beat this subject to death, so I'll keep it like super brief. Like, at the end of the day, like we're supposed to learn how to defend ourselves, and that's kind of what we do. And it's I can't speak from like a women's perspective at all. It's kind of an intimidating thing. I try to get my wife to roll. I stopped because she's like, "Look, like you said
Really?
earlier, sweaty guys ain't happening." I'm like, okay, that's fair. Like she can kickbox. That's good. I'm happy with that. But it does seem like a pretty, and it can be an intimidating thing. I feel especially for somebody who has not done a combat sport before, or things like that.
Yeah.
What are some of the like, we can get to kind of the motivation behind it, but what are some considerations you got to kind of take into account when you start teaching like a self-defense course
Yeah,
or anything like
especially
that?
for like women, I feel like there's different triggers. Women have gone through not just women, I guess. Everybody has gone through
Yeah.
different traumas in their life, and just little things trigger. So I think just making it, like an open conversation, like during women's class, and it doesn't have to be every women's class, but like opening up a conversation, since it's not just about jujitsu, right? So sometimes, like, when we're on the mats, before we start women's class, we start talking about life in general, and also like, hey, if there's any time that you feel like unsafe, or those types of conversations we have on those mats. So I think it's important, like, to bring those subjects up, and not just jujitsu, when you have a women's class, or when you're doing like a self-defense class. And that's one of my big conversation starters before self-defense class, is like, hey, if you need to take a breather, or you want to step out, like, you can, because that's really one thing with women. It's we have triggers that just come out anytime, during the role. So
Yeah, that's a great thing to do, in my opinion. Because like it's consideration, like being a good, like I feel like you're showing being like a great teacher there, taking that into account. So like know your students, know the people that you're training, and then
right.
knowing like where their limitations are. Because how many times you like, I mean, I've been subjected to like just shut up and just do it. I'm like, this
Right, yeah,
doesn't help sometimes. Like, but I'm also just do
yeah.
it. But with that, do you find like it's are you getting women who don't train usually to these classes, or women that are in class, or is it a mix, or like what do you find with like the
No,
demographic with that?
it's a hit and miss. It's a hit and miss, definitely, like for classes, because sometimes we have class. Again, people work, and a lot of women that come to my class are moms. So sometimes they come, sometimes they don't. Well, they'll be missing for 2 weeks. But yeah, most of the women that have came to my women's class, like, they have done jujitsu, some form of jujitsu before. And like, I have a sprinkle of those that have just started. But yeah, it's always hit and miss. Again, with women's class, it's like, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to like keep it afloat, and just, be really open about like who comes in. And also like reaching out, promoting the women's class, and promoting a safe place for women. And like I said, a lot of them, even my friends, because I'm a cosmetologist. So, as a cosmetologist, we're also unpaid therapists. So we talk, I talk to my clients a lot. And, I talk a lot about jujitsu with my clients, and what a good, like, cardio, self-defense, like how great it is.
Yeah.
But the common thing that keeps them is pretty much, how should I say, they just, it's the closeness, it's the touching, it's the sweat. And for them, it that's something that turns them off. So like, that's one of the reasons why they don't get on the mats. I was scared of that. I tell them all the time, like, that's what I was scared of too. But then when you start rolling, like, your sweat is my sweat, I don't even know anymore. Like, I'm just trying to choke you, But the girls that have, like, I have a sister-in-law that, she was on the fence for probably 3 or 4 years. She finally got on the mats, and she just absolutely loves it. Work has taken over her life, so I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks, but like, she was like, I don't know why I didn't do this sooner. So I think, like, once we get them in there on the mats, I think they have a change of heart for sure.
Well, good. That's good.
I want your wife to come to my women's class so we can
I'm okay with that. So like, so I started not with Team Rock Fayetteville, but like Team Rock when there was a school in Andrews. So I still so like, yeah, you gotta check out Team Rock for the good training. But if I can get her there, because I mean we're close to Fayetteville, I'd like to. I'd like for her to try something out.
every Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna talk to her about it. But no, like, and I do appreciate that invitation as well. Because we've had you like, you're on the show today. We had Jordan Wise, who's a black belt out of Cary on the show. And it's there's a big difference like me coming up to a woman I feel and just be like, hey, you want to come do jujitsu? Like it's
And they're
like
like,
with
no.
you? Probably not. Like, but I try not to be like that, but just sometimes there's like, and she's told me this too. I've had a couple other people, and I don't take offense to it. It's just like a bigger guy, like coming to ask you to come grapple, like for a woman, at least that's what they tell me, is like it's not a comfortable thing.
Yes.
And, especially for your intro in it. So
Hmm.
um, like I'll absolutely try to get her in that class and see maybe. And then
Yeah.
somebody else trains her too. So now we're gonna have, like
Right.
I
Well,
don't care about
that's what I'm doing with my self-defense classes. So,
yeah.
I've been hosting it at Team Rock again because we have the mats, but I don't mind hosting it at other gyms. And like what I'm trying to do is just get people comfortable with being with each other, the closeness. So for Team Rock, for example, when I host the self defense courses, we're also allowing 4 free passes for women's class once you take the self defense class. And I think, again, for women, that's a really good introduction for them. I'll introduce them like in the women's class. And then when they feel comfortable, let them know like, hey, there's a co-ed class after women's class. You can watch or you can, join in. But again, it's like that intimidation factor and just allowing them to like slowly, put their toes in the water.
That's
So,
that's good. And I mean, something with like teaching as well, like, it improves your own skills. I know I said I was gonna ask a little bit about it, but like the motivation for this, we talked very, very briefly about it before the interview. If you want to get into that, if you want to talk about that, like what kind of pushed you towards maybe doing these women's self-defense courses?
yeah. So again, back in like, 2020, I was I was in the military, retired in 2020. I joined the military when in 2000, so I had been in 20 years. I did reserves pretty much the whole time. So, as a reservist, you're there 1 week in a month, 2 weeks in a year. But as you get higher in rank, it's like you're pretty much there, a lot. So you really, they say, yeah, you're a weekend warrior. No, like we've got a lot to do. We're like doing a whole month's worth of stuff in one weekend, but yeah, so I just literally retired in 2020, and also like going through a divorce, and just the final 2 years, it was just I was ready to leave. And when the arguments start coming out of the bedroom and the kids start hearing it, like that was my big thing. That's for me, that's when it's time to go. So um he had been out for, in the state of North Carolina, unfortunately, you cannot get divorced until you have been separated for 1 year,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So again, it was 1 year in, I think it was like May had been pretty much 1 year, filed for divorce. And I retired in October. So like everything was going good. And you know what? I'm like, I'm going to start dating. Because again, after 1 year, you're good to go, file for divorce, whatever.
Yeah.
So November came around, and again, like we were going through our divorce. He did not like the fact that I was dating. And let me rewind.
Okay.
We all trained, so everybody that knows my ex thought that he was, and still even now thinks like he's the most, wonderful person, because he would always be that person that was like everybody can count on, right? But I'm, again, trying to not to say any names, but those are some type sometimes narcissistic values, right? Where
Yeah.
like, he just puts up a front. But anyways, November happened. We got into an altercation, and that night he pretty much beat me to death, near death, I should say, while my kids were in the house. Okay. Because again, I did not like arguing in front of my kids. We took it outside. Um, and one thing that was a very hard pill to swallow for me was realizing, like, people don't want to get involved. So we were outside and in a cul-de-sac. We lived in a cul-de-sac. And if you hear yelling in a cul-de-sac, like that's like an echo, and that's like tenfold
Yeah.
the noise. Not one soul called the police. Not one soul called the police. So, and I know that because I also had a friend working the EMT, the ambulance that night. And she was like, Cynthia, unfortunately, like not one person called the police. And you know who called the police that night was actually him in the middle of our altercation. Because I slapped him for calling me names. And he was like, I'm going to call the police. So, fortunately he did, because that's the only reason why the police came. Um, and I don't want to, make this any longer, but I just also want to, I guess, make my side clear on a couple of things
Yeah.
where, um, uh, we were going through a divorce at the same time that we were going through this criminal case, because mind you, he got charged a felony, also 3 counts of misdemeanor. But for me at that time in my life, again, going through a divorce, when you're going through a divorce, your partner is also entitled to 50% of everything. 50% of your liquid assets, 50% of your military retirement, all of that.
Yeah.
And for my children, it's like I had to choose, because again, we were working with the court, and I have never, even now, I have never felt justice with this court system here in North Carolina. It has always failed me. But people ask, like, why wasn't he convicted then? He must not have done it. Why was he not convicted? Well, truth of the matter is, honestly, it's as simple as it takes one juror to find him not guilty, right? And even if he was convicted, he can be sentenced to less than 39 months in jail, and then for what? Like, for me, I just didn't want my kids to go through that. At that point in my life, it wasn't about me. It was about the kids. And talking with the lawyers, it's like, that's what I chose. I chose to drop the criminal case in lieu of, one, my sanity, because if you've never gone through a criminal course, I was going in and out of that courthouse for almost 2 years, being badgered by lawyers, and it's just not a fun thing. And was I could not see myself giving him my retirement for the rest of my life after what he did, and could not see him taking my or my children's liquid assets. So for me, it was an easy choice. It was one of the hardest choices to choose, whether it be, getting him convicted, or, walking away and just knowing in my heart that, you know, time will tell, time will show. So anyways, with that being said, I really felt like I needed to do something, right? I really needed to give back, because it was my way um, of saying, like, pretty much fuck you, right? So like, I just wanted to give back in some way. I just didn't know how until this fell on my lap. Team Rock was like, hey, we've got a lot of women here. Like, what do you think? And I was all for it. Again, I wanted a place where it would be safe for women safe to talk, just a safe place for us to be ourselves. And if you ask anybody at Team Rock, I am like the mat enforcer. Okay, I will be like, you ain't going there. You're gonna come here. You roll with me or whatever, you know. But also, you know, contacting and working with programs around the area, you know, Phoenix Center for Domestic Violence, the Care Center for, you know, program here in Fayetteville, the Hoke DV and SA program. Like, I'm just trying to work with a lot of people just to get my self-defense program out there, just to help women, help children. So for me, like, that event in 2020 really propelled all the things that I'm doing today and the passion that I have today for, you know, for helping.
It's, I could imagine. I honestly could not. And like whatever the decisions you make, like that's gonna be the right, like the right decision for whatever it is you want to do. And
Yes.
the way you explain it, like you're looking out for your kids, and now you're giving back to the community, like as like you said, like a fuck you, which I'm all
Yeah.
for, absolutely all for that. It's a true mark of like a martial artist, in my opinion, that you have a set of good skills. I've rolled with you. You're annoying to roll with. That's a compliment. And now you're using it in a way to give back to the community. It's a selfless thing. And so you get like the lesson of like getting up after getting, like running into an obstacle, dusting yourself up, moving forward, and then you're taking it and improving the community as well as yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it's huge.
I would be lying if I said though that a part of me wasn't ashamed that at that moment I couldn't take care of myself.
It it happens. And you shouldn't be. You shouldn't be ashamed of that. And
But that's what I've learned, right? Like,
yeah,
that
good.
you learn that it's not always going to be like a stranger. It can be somebody like that you've vowed to be with for the rest of your life, like somebody close. And that's what I also teach in self-defense. Like, you can't count these people out. You know, you have to keep your eyes open. You always have to have your situational awareness. But yeah, like, I just hope that I am helping people, you know, like that's at the end of the day, I just hope that nobody ever feels the shame that I felt.
And I think like you're obviously doing that. Even if you get one person, like in my opinion, that's a huge win. So,
It is for sure.
and like I said, you're annoying to roll with. So I know like they're getting good quality instruction there. Like I tried wrist locking you at one point and you yelled at me.
Oh yeah. Oh
Like
yeah, I
I
will
because
slap you for wrist locking me.
I talked to Rick about it. Like I still bring it up if I talk to him. I was like, yeah, Cyn was mad at me. Like, but
You
um
know, Rick cracks me up because
yeah,
I know, you know, the type of person he is. He will be smashing you and you
yeah.
can't even breathe, and he's like, "You're doing so well. You're doing so good." I'm like, "Oh, really? Am I though?"
I have to tell him, it's like, you need to stop gassing me up because like we'll roll and like I can't catch him. And he's like, man, you're such a badass. I'm like, like breathing hard. I'm like, stop, dude. Like, just give me the real advice. Like,
Exactly. You know, you feel like a black belt now. Oh, really? Really? After you tap me like 5 times? Yeah, that's definitely how I feel with him for sure.
it is good. I mean, like, the community that we have out here in North Carolina, and since you've been, part of it for a long while, um, I feel it's kind of not unique, but kind of rare for as welcoming as it is with different gyms in the area. Now I know there's always going to be like, everybody has the best gym. Why? Because they go to that gym. Like that's just how it
Yeah.
is. But like still I've traveled, all over the state, dropped into different gyms, and I don't know if like it's just my experience. You may have a different one, but I've never been like walked in the room and get like the everybody just stands up, stares at you like, all right,
No.
we got to kill that guy. He's an outsider, like, have you experienced that? No. Have you like,
Well,
traveled around and like,
oh yeah. Yeah.
okay.
Every time I travel, and I love to travel, I go to Texas all the time to visit my sister. I've been to England and just dropped
Nice.
in one of their jujitsu classes, Alaska. So everywhere I go to visit, I try to train, which I went to Rome in
Ooh,
August. Couldn't
nice.
find any jujitsu areas that were like at least within an hour walking distance because I was legit trying to walk an hour. I did not mind. But they were all like Krav Maga. And so I'm like, well, I don't want to be like a first timer there. But yeah, everywhere I go, I try to train jujitsu. And honestly, like I have never been anywhere where I was not welcomed.
It's good.
It's like they've always welcomed me with open arms. Like the role has always been amazing, and always like positive feedbacks.
Well, that's good. I mean, I still like I keep saying like, when I do travel for work, I'm like, yeah, I'm bring my gi and I bring my gi and I bring no gi stuff. And then I just get so tied up with stuff. I'm like, damn, I want to roll. Like, but I gotta be up early. I gotta go to this dinner. So I
No, I
need
make it, I make it, I make it to where I'm like, okay, it's 1 hour of my life. And I have had family members that have gotten pissed off that I was gone. I'm only visiting them for like 24 hours and I'm gone 2 of those hours. But you know what? It's like, it's such a therapy, for me as well to be on those
yeah.
mats. So,
What would you say one of your favorite places that you traveled to and got to train at is?
um, let me see. When I was in Bristol, United Kingdom,
Okay.
I was at, I believe the gym was called Sweatbox. And yeah, oh my gosh, I can't, you put me on the spot because he was like the master of turtles. I
Okay.
forgot. Well, I trained with him. He was there for one of the seminars. And also I was in actually another Gracie Baja
What
gym.
was it? Preet Mikkelsen?
No,
Okay.
no, no. Now you're gonna have to cut this out, and then we're gonna have to redo this because I have to find that name.
It's
but
fine. I can do
but
that.
I was he did like a seminar for like back control turtle and all that stuff, and that was pretty damn cool. Cool. And also, I had another one in UK when I went there a couple of years ago too, and he came through the Gracie Baja um, Estima. He came and we did like a seminar there with his Estima locks, and that was like the coolest thing in the world. But yeah, it's just that's why it's so important for me to like to go travel because I just never know what that day brings, and I really really enjoy meeting new people. I'm an introvert at heart. um Definitely a closet introvert because as a cosmetologist they're like, oh yeah, no you're not, like you talk to everybody. I'm really not. If I know you I'll talk to you, but like it's really hard getting me out of my shell. But like right now, like I'm looking at you and you're not looking at me, right? Like so
Yeah, well, I'm looking at your name. It's weird. Like, so
so this is
not
the best
weird,
thing.
but it's whatever.
It's like talking to you behind a curtain. But yeah, like but yeah, I've enjoyed those, like going to England and training there. Those have been the best.
Nice. Oh yeah, England's fun. I do like England. I get a I know a lot of people spread the gospel of jiu-jitsu, but I gotta spread the gospel of the jiu-jitsu globetrotters. Have you heard of any of their camps or stuff like that?
I have not. Well, I have seen them, and I definitely would love to, attend one of theirs. And I think they had one in like Iceland or something like that.
Yeah, unfortunately they just stopped doing those, but
Really?
yeah. So he tries to keep it Christian's the guy who runs it. He tries to keep it fresh, so he like rotates camps and stuff, but
Oh,
Iceland was fun. I did like the first one. And then after looking at my finances after doing the Iceland camp, I'm like, probably I'm just gonna do one of these because God, it's expensive. It was great, but it was expensive.
yeah, I bet.
But there's a bunch of others. So like if you like traveling, you like doing jujitsu, I think that's like one of the things that'll be right up your alley. Tons of great people to meet there too. So
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I definitely, once the kids get of age, once my daughter is 18, because the other one, he's already 18, like he's good to go.
yeah,
But I definitely want to travel a lot more.
good, good. So now if you were queen for a day, you rule the jujitsu world. What are some of the things you'd like to see change? I know this is a very on the spot question, but I feel like, a lot of instructors have some pretty good, strong opinions about stuff they'd like to see. I don't care how like controversial you feel it may be. I want to hear it because I always like hearing different perspectives like that.
Well, I mean, when it comes to jujitsu, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. Like how classes are taught, curriculums, like gym
you know,
culture, anything. Like
I have been like I've been, with Team Rock for a long time, but I also really love cross training. And I really urge my girls also and my friends to cross train. I think it's wonderful. Again, meeting gym owners and, meeting new people. Like I absolutely love cross training. So yeah, first of all, like that's one big one is, go out there, cross train with other people. And, I tell my friends all the time, we can't hold people's hands, right? Like you're going to gravitate towards, a gym or a person that you want to train with. And that's absolutely okay. Like we've lost and we've gained, people through jujitsu. But when I teach my women's class, I kind of like training almost competition style, So we definitely, again, talk a little bit, chit chat, some girly talk. And then we start with, takedowns. Like takedowns, I think is like one of the priorities. Because in the very beginning, I didn't do a lot of takedowns. So like you become intimidated, as you're like a brown belt. You're like, oh, I don't know. So like for me, incorporating takedowns in every class is like really important, whether it be like your first 10 minutes or so, but just like learning some technique. So yeah, we do takedowns and then we'll do like positional rolling. And then we'll do like live rolling as well. So I think having that structure and also a sequence, like I love seeing sequence. I don't like teaching, willy nilly. And again, it depends on the audience, right? Depends on who we have, on the mats at that time. That really changes things. But most of the time I like to teach by a sequence. You do a takedown, it leads you to side control. You can, positional and then a submission from that and a transition or whatnot. But yeah, I like to usually teach a sequence. And I'm sure, every gym is different, but yeah, I'd like to see more of that. I love sports jujitsu, but I also like love the basics. And that's what I feel like Team Rock is, we're huge on basics. And that's
yeah.
what I tell, my friends. It's like, it's really hard to build anything if you don't have the basics. So we're really hard on like instilling that in our, at the gym.
I'm happy to hear. I'm all about the basics too, because I'm always like, I may have been a little sarcastic to some white belts, probably like like teaching what was this? Like, show me some stuff that I have never seen before. I'm like, well, based on how you've been rolling, I let me show you this really basic guard
Right.
pass instead of a leg lock. Like,
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
leg locks, but you got to get the basics down first.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, when they're going into competition, I'm like, don't be trying to learn any fancy moves, stick with the basics, like hunt for submissions, stick with the basics positions. And like, that's it. I don't need to teach you like a flying arm bar right now or, whatever. Just, yeah. So like, we're really, we drill a lot of the basic things.
Good, good, good. Well, before we head out, before we finish up this interview, our episode, sorry, I didn't say it was like an interview. We're just talking. Interviews are so formal. We'll
Now
say
you
that.
got me, now you got me nervous. No.
Yeah, we're not 60 minutes. We're not even close to that thing. So like, but where can people find you? Where can they, if they're listening to this and they want to jump in on, your self-defense courses or, learn more about, Team Rock or whatever, where can they find you?
Yeah, sure. I have an Instagram, and usually my Instagram is pretty much it's private, first of all. And I'm really picky about who's on my Instagram because again, like I don't like it getting back to certain people.
Yeah.
But you can find me on Just Cyn, or on my Facebook at Cyn Ignacio. I'm at Team Rock, pretty much there every day. If you see it open, I'm usually there. Um, Women's class is Thursdays at 5 o'clock. I'm a cosmetologist. I work at Kayana Salon here in Fayetteville off of Owen Drive. So if you need your hair did, if you want me to buff your head, Rob, I'll do it.
I
You
was
want me
gonna
to buff
say
your
like
head?
I might need that
Okay.
because if you could straight razor my head and buff it,
Okay.
Thumbs up.
They can find me there. You guys can find me there. Yeah, if I'm not at jujitsu doing hair, I'm at home hanging out with the kids.
Nice. Well, Cyn, thank you very much. I appreciate you sharing everything. It's a really amazing story, and I'm really impressed with like what you're doing. So thank you so much
Thank you so
for
much.
coming
Thank you
on.
so much for having me and giving me a platform to, act all crazy and say what I got to say. So I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been another episode of the Big Jiu Jitsu Show. Randy's gone. I'm Rob. I'll catch you next time.